Why is Satan an almost necessary being? Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Michael Voris Show. Michael Voris here, your host. Today we're going to be talking about, is the devil real? And by real, we mean a number of things here. Meaning an actual being with intellect and will, doesn't have a body because he's an angel, a fallen angel, but an angel. So an actual being who exists, intellect and will, just like you and us, except we have a body. So is the devil real? Well, certainly Catholic teaching says he's real. Jesus had an encounter with him, probably more than one, but certainly one, the 3 temptations in the desert. At the beginning of his ministry after his baptism. But, you know, what's surprising here is the number of people who ascribe to the devil things that are something lesser than him. For example, you know, back in Boston a couple weeks back, they had the big, Satan Con.
Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
A big, conference, and, the lady was there. She was on Twitter and social media, like tearing up the Bible and ripping the Bible to shreds, and, amidst cheers and everything, and people yelling, "Hail," that being, I don't want to say it. But when you ask them, they're like, well, we don't really believe in the devil as an being, as an entity in and of himself. Satan's just kind of a belief system, kind of a spirit of rebellion, a spirit internally to us of rebellion. And we just kind of take all of that and sort of foist it onto him and call that mental attitude Satan or the devil. But that really exists in us, not out there on its own as its own being.
It's about supporting human rights. It's about supporting women's bodily autonomy. It's about freedom of religion, freedom from religion.
I understand the confusion, the fear. I really do. But at the same time, we're a very misunderstood group.
Well, that's pretty darn curious way of looking at things. I got to say, from the devil's perspective, he loves that. You don't believe in the devil, you're probably going to be spending eternity with him. You'll regret it then, but as they say, sometimes the waters haven't risen high enough, but when they do rise to a certain level, then it's too late because you've drowned. How do we know the devil is real? Well, before we get into that, I'd like to show you what some firm belief in the devil actually looks like. I'm going to take a look at this little video from Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson talking about Satan.
When you're favored by God, you're also favored by the devil. He's coming for you too. So you just gotta be strong and stay on the right side. Whose side you gonna go on? He's gonna give you power too. He's gonna get in your head too, but it's whose side you gonna stay with. You stay with who brought you here. You go home with the guy that brought you to the dance. You have to be disciplined. Discipline is doing what you hate to do, but do it like you love it. Just remember, God loves you, so does he. He's after you too. It's a war. You gotta really believe that. If you don't believe it, you'll find out. You need faith, because you're not smarter than Satan, brother. I know you may think you ain't smarter than Satan. You need faith. You need faith, brother. He's good. He knows your weakness. He knows you before you was existing. You can't talk slick to him.
Yeah, but how
He gives you all your thoughts probably sometimes.
All right. If you didn't know that Mike Tyson wasn't Catholic, you'd actually say he was Catholic. That is just about as solid a Catholic theological presentation, kind of off the cuff in a social media setting, that you could ever hope to get. He was wrong on one tiny little point that, Satan doesn't know about us before we come into existence. He can't know the future. But once we're here, oh yeah, he knows us. When St. Teresa of Avila, the wonderful reformer of the Carmelites, was going around, Spain, Europe, and doing, so the reform of it. She's such a holy woman that her angel actually showed her aspects, made them understandable to her, aspects of the afterlife. One of those included a trip or a vision to hell, where she was shown the place that Satan had prepared for her the moment she came into existence. And, of course, by extrapolation, every single human being who comes into existence, Satan prepares a place for them because of his hatred toward humanity. Why is Satan an almost necessary being? Not necessary that he had to rebel, but in the sense that we all have a free will, you are allowed to choose against God. Now, it always ends in destruction for you, but one of the aspects that when God makes man, for example, in his image and likeness, and he imparts to man sort of the spark of divine life, well, one of those aspects of divine life is that we have a free will. God has a free will, and he chooses to love. And I'm not talking about in some sort of like emotional mushy sense. I'm talking about love in the sense of sacrifice. It is his nature to sacrifice. And so he creates a universe around him, not for his own good. He doesn't need anything. He creates it for the sake of the creation, for its own joy and celebration and beauty and majesty. All of it is created for its own sake. God already possesses everything in himself that he needs. He doesn't need any of this other stuff. But again, that's why he creates it. Now, if you create a creation, make a creation, a universe, and you put into that universe beings that have intellect, they also would have to have a free will. What's the purpose of having an intellect if you can't do anything with it? I mean, you look at something and you figure it out. That's a book. This is a statue. That's a tree. That's a dog. Okay, you know all of that stuff. You're into, okay, now, so what? You don't go pet a tree. You don't go water a dog. You figure things out, and then you go do things. So first you observe. The intellectual process is first to observe and come to conclusions about things, sometimes the wrong conclusions, but let's just assume for some simplistic examples here that we're talking about, things that are just easy and they're not these big complex thoughts. Well, then once you've arrived at a conclusion, then you act on that conclusion. For those of you who are married men, you're like, oh, today is my wife's birthday. Okay, that's just a fact. It doesn't elicit an emotion. It's just a thing. It's a piece of information that your intellect has apprehended. It now possesses, today is my wife's birthday. Now you do something with that piece of information, or you don't, and you face a certain wrath, which you should. To simply ignore your wife's birthday is probably not a very good thing to do. So then you make a decision. Well, hey, I'm going to celebrate my wife's birthday today, going to whatever, take her out to her nicest restaurant she loves, get babysitters in, go, postpone, have a little card and cake or something, but, postpone the gift to a nice weekend trip somewhere, whatever the case is, whatever you do something with the information. That's the will. So you look at a calendar and you observe, oh, today is whatever it is, May 10th. Oh, that's my wife's birthday. Okay. Now you do something. So the free will enters in, and you freely commit your will to do something based on the information. If all we had was just information and that was it, we'd be like just nothing more than a computer that doesn't actually do anything. It just absorbs information, has information programmed into it. So why is the devil necessary? Because every being has the ability to choose. Every intellectual being has the ability to choose, to commit its will to something. If you couldn't choose, if you couldn't commit your will to something, then you could never love. All you would be is just sort of static, robotic. That's it. Those of you remember the old Star Trek series, that's kind of what Dr. Spock was. He just never really had any emotion. He just collected information. Well, I suppose that's fine for your first officer who's like, running the Enterprise and making sure the Klingons don't blow you into smithereens. But in interactions with people and relationships with people and, emotions do come into things. Feelings come into things. And based on those emotions and those feelings, as they are processed in the intellect, then the will steps forward and makes a decision, and it commits to a decision, and it does something. The reason the devil is a necessary being, therefore, is because he has the opportunity to commit to not God. If you saw the movie Nefarious, which if you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Awesome awesome movie. There's a line in there where he's talking to the psychiatrist. For those of you who haven't seen it, he's the demon Nefarious has completely and fully possessed a serial killer who's sitting in Oklahoma awaiting death sentence and talking to a psychiatrist, and that's the back and forth for probably 90% of the movie. And in that, in one scene that I'm thinking of, he says, the atheist psychiatrist says to him, "Okay, well, if you're a demon, like, why would you rebel?" And he said, in a really cool understanding, helps elucidate this more. He said, "Well, you don't really understand it, human, little peon human. You don't understand this. It was majestic. The rebellion was magnificent." Thank you for watching The Michael Voris Show. If you'd like to watch the entire episode, please head over to churchmilton.com and sign up as a premium member. If you need to sign up to become a premium member, go to churchmilton.com/go premium.